Jesus only led for 3 years, but he had the largest impact on billions of people across the world. Why was his influence so great? So in today's episode, let's take a look at the 3 things that Jesus did to spread his influence and leadership across the globe. The first one is that Jesus was a servant leader. In fact, in the book of John, chapter 13, Jesus gives us an example of servant leadership by washing his disciples' feet. After the supper ended, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and wipe them down with a towel. And then Peter said, "Lord, are you washing my feet?" He said, "You shall never wash my feet." Basically like, you're the God, you're the man. I should be washing your feet. But Jesus said, "If I do not wash you, then you have no part with me." Basically what he's saying is, I must first serve you in order for you and I to have a relationship, in order for you to want to follow me. And in today's corporate world, a lot of people are walking around with these positions, these titles. I'm your boss, which is why you should listen to me. But if you have no relationship with that person, if you have never offered to serve that person, it doesn't have to be washing their feet, but it could be in spending the time serving them and assisting them and teaching them how to do well at their role. It can mean many things. But a lot of corporate roles today will say, you need to serve me because I'm your leader. But Jesus understood that servant leadership was one of the most important things to building a great relationship with someone and in order to increase his influence with them. Because Jesus doesn't just touch the hand, but he touches your heart at the same time. The second thing that Jesus does to increase his influence is that he understood that relationships are more important than rules. Relationships are more important than being legalistic. And if we go to the book of John, chapter 5, we see how Jesus healed a man at the pool of Bethesda. Now, this pool of Bethesda is where a lot of sick people go because when the angel comes down and stirs the water, the first person to enter the water immediately gets healed. So there was a crippled man that had been laying there for 38 years. He had been sick for 38 years. And because he was so crippled, he always felt that as soon as the angel would come down and stir the waters, he could never be the first person down there because there would be other people waiting and just trampling over him to get into the water. So this is the Sabbath day, which is a holy day. And that's when the traditional Jews at the time were not supposed to work at all. You're not even supposed to, and even still today, not even supposed to drive a car, operate a machine on the Sabbath day, the holy day. Well, here, Jesus goes down to the pool of Bethesda and sees the man. And when he saw him lying there, he said, "Do you want to be made well?" And the sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up by the angel. But while I'm coming, another steps down before me." They beat me to the pool. Jesus said to him, "Rise, take your bed up and walk." And immediately the man was made well and took up his bed and walked. So he had been sick for 38 years and God healed him. But the thing is, it was on the Sabbath day. And when the Pharisees found out about this, they got upset. And for this reason, the Jews persecuted Jesus and sought to kill him because he had done these things on the Sabbath. But Jesus answered them, "My Father has been working until now, and I have been working." Basically, he understood that relationships, caring for people and their needs are more important than the rules. Is he going to encounter someone that is just deathly ill, been struggling, and he has the power to heal them, just not because the rule is to not work on the Sabbath? So he understood these things. And the third thing that Jesus did to be one of the greatest leaders of all times is that Jesus didn't see people for who they are, but he sees them for who they can become. He sees that the potential of who they can become with a changed heart. Let's take a look at the book of John chapter 8, where we find the woman who was in adultery. The scribes and the Pharisees brought to Jesus a woman caught in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst and said to him, "Teacher, this woman was caught in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned." They're like, stone her. She committed a sin. Kill her. Jesus said, okay, so he takes the woman who had caused adultery. He looks down at the ground. He starts painting something in the sand with his finger. And Jesus says, "He who is without sin among you, let him throw the first stone at her." Basically what it means is, whoever here has never sinned before, you go ahead and throw the first stone. And everybody was quiet. And one by one, people began to leave until there was nobody but the woman. And Jesus looks up at the woman and says, "Has nobody thrown a stone at you?" And she said, "Nobody." So what happened there? See, everyone understood, well, I've sinned, right? I'm not perfect. I'm human. And so they realized that, okay, I'm broken too. So why cast shame on somebody else? And so Jesus didn't see them for who they are, but who they can become. He saw this woman for this beautiful daughter, God's beautiful daughter, that can be made whole by coming to him and submitting to him and his way of life. And so he basically said, "Go forward and sin no more, my daughter." And from there on out, she led a holy life. He also saw Zacheus in the book of Luke, chapter 19. Zacheus was a crook, the tax collector who basically he cheated people out of their money because he would overtax them and laugh about it. He was like the dirtiest of dirty crooks when it came to tax collectors in the day. And Zacheus was shocked when Jesus pointed him out of the crowd and said, "Hey, Zacheus, I'm going to come over to your house for dinner tonight." And Jesus went and had dinner at Zacchaeus' house. And all the Pharisees and the scribes were like, "What is Jesus doing hanging out with this crook? What is Jesus, this righteous, this amazing, the Son of God, doing hanging out and favoring this adulteress and sticking up for her?" Well, basically, Jesus saw the best in each person. Instead of seeing the worst in each person. I know, I'm a wife, I'm a mom. Sometimes we naturally want to just go to the negative, start criticizing people. And in leadership, sometimes we go there first. We see what they're not doing enough of, how they're doing this wrong, and, doing that incorrect. Instead of speaking the best into them, how we see how they can become because we believe the best in them, of a heart changed for better. So these are just some of the many examples of how Jesus was such an incredible leader. Still to this day, his message continues on to billions and billions of people around the world. And this is just the beginning. We're going to continue studying the Word and learning leadership lessons from the Bible and the life of Jesus.